we are going to start with our next class from the chapter New Political Formations in the 18th Century, and first we will talk about the Sikhs. And here you all know that Guru Nanak, right? So Guru Nanak was a saint. So saint means a holy person who talks on religious matters. So Guru Nanak, he did not start any kind of religion, but he was a preacher of harmony. So this word preacher, it means he gave religious speech on how to live peacefully, which means harmony, and he taught that among various religions, and he also communicated people to believe it. Okay, so conveyed here, it means communicated people so that they believe all the superstition in any form was harmful for the society. So this word superstition, it means a belief that is not based on human reason or scientific knowledge, but is connected with old ideas like magic, etc. Okay, so whosoever was the gurus that followed Guru Nanak as his learners, which means disciples, they continued to give speech on the same lines and the principles as other Sufi saints. So the word here Sikh, it meant the person who is a learner or who is a disciple from the Guru. Now here the Gurus always preached to live in harmony. What the Gurus they did was they always taught, they always gave a religious speech on how to live peacefully amongst yourself and agree with each other. Let's talk about Guru Arjan Dev. So Guru Arjan Dev, he had compiled the Sikh religious book, the Adi Granth. So here the meaning of compiled is he had collected information from different places and he had arranged that in a book, and the name of the book was Adi Granth. And he also established Amritsar. So by looking at all these things, the Mughal thought that Guru Arjan Dev, he could be a threat. Okay, he could be a threat. So this word threat, it means that this person might be proved dangerous for us. And now it was the starting or the beginning of conflict. So conflict here, it means any kind of argument which is serious in nature and fights, okay, between the two or more groups of people. So now there was the starting of the conflict with the Mughals, wherein they tortured. Tortured means gave him a lot of pain and suffering, and they killed Guru Arjan Dev. Now the sixth Guru then tried to militarize the followers so as to prevent any oppression and preserve the faith in the teachings. Now the sixth Guru, he tried to militarize. So this word militarize means he lent a military character to a country as by building up a military force for military conflicts and violence. So this militarization, so this word, it was done by the sixth Guru to his followers so that they could not get any kind of prolonged, cruel or unjust treatment, right? That means oppression, okay? And he also preserved the faith in the teachings. So he had preserve means to keep it in the same position, okay, to keep it the way as it was, okay. So the faith was kept as it was, and that was included in his teachings. So here there is an incident in 1675 that many Pandits, they were from Kashmir and northern parts of India. They came to the ninth Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur, and requested him to be their savior. Savior means someone who saved them against any kind of ill things or ill treatment, okay. So here an incident which happened in 1675. So there were many Pandits from Kashmir who came from other northern parts of India. They came to the ninth Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur, and they requested him to help them to be saved against the Islamic conversion which was done by Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb, he was telling everyone to get converted into Islam. Now Guru Tegh Bahadur, he told the Pandits that there was a need for a great man who can be sacrificed, and this was to his own son told him. Okay, so he said that there was a great man who has to be sacrificed, and he told this his own son. Okay, and this was told to his own son. So now, who could be greater than you? So now he said that the son who could be greater than you. And it is said that Guru Tegh Bahadur, he told the Pandits to go back and tell Aurangzeb if Guru Tegh Bahadur converts to Islam, they would follow suit. So it means that if Guru Tegh Bahadur, he will convert to Muslim religion, okay, which means Islam. So he had asked the Pandits to go back and tell Aurangzeb that if Guru Tegh Bahadur, he gets converted to the Muslim religion, then they all would follow suit. So suit here means a problem which is taken to a law court by an ordinary person or an organization rather than the police in order to obtain a legal decision. So here he was told by Aurangzeb to convert to Islam, but he refused and chose death instead. So here Guru Tegh Bahadur, he was told by Aurangzeb to get himself converted to Islam. He had to change his religion, okay, from Sikh to Islam, but he said that he will never do it. So he refused, and he said that he will choose death instead. And he was the 9th Guru, right? So this 9th Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur, he sacrificed himself to protect the Hindus. Now Guru Tegh Bahadur, he sacrificed himself, okay, he gave his life for the sake of the people in order to protect the Hindu people. So his torturous death in Delhi opposite the Red Fort inflamed the sentiments of the followers of the faith. So here his torturous means the causing pain or the suffering which he had to go through, and it led to a death, okay, a torturous death was there in Delhi of Guru Tegh Bahadur, and it was opposite the Red Fort, and this incident inflamed the sentiments of the followers of the faith. So inflamed here, it means there was a strong feeling that was provoked or intensified among the followers of the people who had believed him. After his death, his son Guru Gobind Singh was nominated as the 10th Guru. So after the death of Guru Tegh Bahadur, his son Guru Gobind Singh, he was nominated as the 10th Guru. Guru Gobind Singh then militarized his army as a warrior king. Again, what Guru Gobind did was, Guru Gobind Singh again, he lent a military character to a country as by building up a military force for military conflict and violence. So he made his people ready for the violence and the military conflicts by lending a military character to his people. And he was the 10th Guru, right? And he fought and won many battles with the Mughals, including Aurangzeb and other kings. So now Guru Gobind Singh, he fought many battles and he won many battles with the Mughals, which was including Aurangzeb and other kings. Later on, he was treacherously attacked. So this word treacherously, it means dangerously. He was attacked and he succumbed to his injuries in 1708. So this word succumbed means he died because of his injuries, or he died or he suffered from the effect of injury. So Guru Gobind Singh, he died in the year 1708, and before his death he had formally announced that now there would be no Guru in the form of the human, and the only holy book, which is the Adi Granth, that would be the Guru. And that is why now how the holy book, it came to be known as the Guru Granth Sahib, because that is the holy book of the Sikhs and that is the Guru, okay, of the Sikhs. And this Guru Granth Sahib, it is scripted in Gurumukhi script. So whatever the words it has been written down, that is in the Gurumukhi script, and but it contains many languages, which is including Punjabi, Urdu, Sanskrit, Bhojpuri and even Persian. And he was the first one who started. So started means initiated, okay, the Khalsa Panth. So Khalsa here it means pure and Panth means the path, okay. So this Khalsa Panth, it was started in 1699, and this Khalsa Panth, it had the system of 5 KS in the Sikh religion. So now let me tell you these 5 KS, which are as the follows, that is Kesh, Kangha, Kara, Kirpan and Kacha. So now we have seen the Sikhism side. Now we will see how did they rise the Sikh empire. Let us look into the rise of the Sikh empire. So this word empire, it means an extensive group of states or countries that is ruled over by a single monarch. So here there was the weakening or the fall of the Mughal empire. So this word, okay, decline, means the weakening or the fall, okay, destroyed of the Mughal empire, that caused many rulers to come up in smaller kingdoms. So all the empire that got broken down after the weakening of the Mughal empire, and many rulers they came up with the independent states, okay, or countries, right? So in the Punjab region, many landlords are the people who lease their land and they get money for it. So they made their own administrative regions, which is known as misls. So here the administrative regions, he means the region which they will be looking into, or all the activities that will be included in the administrative regions, okay, that is run by a system. So now these landlords, they made their own administrative regions and these regions were known as misls. And now later on, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he started to unite all the misls in the beginning of the 18th century and his empire, okay. So all these regions, okay, which were the smaller kingdoms, so this all was united by Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and that was from the beginning of the 18th century. And if we look into his empire, it stretched over many parts of North India, from Khyber Pass in the west to borders of Tibet in east, from Kashmir in the north to Sindh in the south. So here we can see he had a vast empire, but the empire of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, it did not last for a very long time, okay. So now here what happened was, there were many misls who started to emerge independent and their unity cracked. Some betrayed him in war, which led to the downfall of the Sikh empire in Punjab region. So all these administrative misls, okay, that whatever was united, here they started to emerge independent, and so now they started getting separated, right, separated, and whatsoever was their unity, that got broken down. Why it got broken down? Because some of the people, they betrayed him, okay, they cheated him. I'm talking about Maharaja Ranjit Singh. So he was being cheated by some of the people in the war, and this led to the decline of the Sikh empire in the Punjab region. And slowly, which means gradually, the British, they overpowered means they defeated someone by having greater strength or power. So the British slowly, they started taking all the regions one by one from the middle of the 19th century. Now we will see here some question and answers from Let's Check. Question number 1. In which language is Guru Granth Sahib written? So the answer will be in page number 98. Guru Granth Sahib was written in many languages including Punjabi, Urdu, Sanskrit, Bhojpuri and even Persian. Question number 2. Who started the system of 5KS in the Sikh religion? So that will be Guru Gobind Singh. Question number 3. What were missals? And the answer will be administrative regions. Question number 4. Who united missals? So that will be Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Now we will look at the case study of the Marathas. Let us talk about the Marathas. So if we talk about the Marathas, then they are the people who are from the part of state of Maharashtra and they are from the areas of Pune and Konkan. So these people from Maharashtra, they were the Marathas. Okay. So these Marathas, they lived with dignity and honor. So this word dignity, it means the state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect, and the word honor, it means that they were highly respected. So member of the Maratha community found a place in the military of the Mughals and were established as a warrior class. So they were the brave class of people and they used to take part in the wars. So that's why they were from the warrior class. And this Maratha community, they were in the place in the military of the Mughals and that's why they were established as a warrior class. So now let us look at Shivaji. So Shivaji, he was the founder of the Maratha Empire and his father's name was Shaji Bhosle, and Shaji Bhosle, he was the chief in the court of Sultan of Bijapur. So this word chief means a person who is in charge of a group or organization. And Shivaji, he was brought up under the guidance of his mother Jijabai. So Jijabai was his mother's name. He always dreamt of an independent kingdom and from the beginning of his career, he started organizing the brave people of the region and formed a small army. So if we look at the character of Shivaji, then he was always dreaming of being an independent ruler, right? He always dreamt to have an independent kingdom, okay, so that he can make his own laws and he can rule himself. And from the beginning of his career, from the starting of his life journey, he started organizing the brave people, whosoever was the brave people of the region of Maharashtra. Then he formed them into a small army, okay, and he trained them in guerrilla warfare. So this word guerrilla warfare, we will come across this word here. So guerrilla warfare, it is an art of warfare in which there are no pitched battles. A small force of soldiers attacked an unsuspecting army with lightning speed, taking the enemy by surprise. After the attack, they immediately vanished into the jungles. So he taught his small group of armies into guerrilla warfare and he organized many attacks on small fortresses. So this word fortresses, it means a large or a strong building or a group of building that can be defended from attack. So now his military or a small group of army was trained how to attack the small fortresses which was around Bijapur, and repeatedly he gained success in doing that. Noticing the growing power of Shivaji, the Sultan of Bijapur sent his military commander Afzal Khan to eliminate Shivaji. So this word eliminate means completely remove and get rid of something, okay. So now he was growing into power, right? So Shivaji, he was becoming more superior and stronger in terms of his powers. So what the Sultan of Bijapur did was he sent his military commander Afzal Khan to throw him out from there. Okay, and when Shivaji came to know about this plot, okay, so when he came to know about this plan, he decided to confront Afzal Khan. So this word confront means he wanted to face Afzal Khan face to face. Okay, and they sent messages to each other through messengers. So the messages were also being sent through the messengers, and they agreed to meet under the condition of remaining unarmed, but both reached the appointed place duly armed. So here now they agreed to meet each other. Afzal Khan and Shivaji, they agreed to meet each other through their messengers. Now what happened was there was a condition which stated that whenever you will come there, you will not be equipped with, or you will not carry any weapons, okay, which is unarmed. But when both they reached the appointed place, but they were duly armed. So duly means in the correct way or at the correct time. Okay, as expected, they reached, right? But armed. Here again, they came by carrying weapons, or they came by equipping weapons. So here they did not follow the procedure, right? And that was the hidden weaponry. So here weaponry, it means that weapon. Okay, so they kind of dressed themselves in a way that their weapons were hidden. During the meeting, Shivaji killed Afzal Khan, and this enhanced his stature as a great warrior. So when the meeting was between Shivaji and Afzal Khan, and Afzal Khan was killed by Shivaji, and this enhanced means it further improved the value, or it increased the value of the stature means here as a person who had reputation and importance, which was based on admirable qualities or achievements. So that was an achievement, right, for Shivaji, and he was getting more importance because he had killed Afzal Khan, and because of this he became a great warrior. Now we will talk about the conflicts with the Mughals. Into the conflicts with the Mughals. So this word conflicts, it means some kind of argument, or you can say the fight, okay, between the two groups or two or more group of people. So now Aurangzeb, what he wanted to do was he wanted to build, which means establish control over the entire Deccan region, and that means that he wanted to overcome the power of Shivaji. So he wanted to take all the powers away from Shivaji and rule over the whole Deccan. Now Aurangzeb, he sent Shaista Khan, and Shaista Khan, he was sent as the governor of Deccan, and Aurangzeb, he directed Shaista Khan, means he had instructed him to take all possible actions against Shivaji. But what he did was he attacked the camp of Shaista Khan and he killed his son. So the son of Shaista Khan was killed when Shaista Khan had run away or escaped. Okay. Shivaji then he attacked the Mughal port of Surat in 1664, and then he took it under him, captured it. Okay. So Aurangzeb, what he did was he sent Raja Jai Singh as his most trusted. Okay, he was one of the trusted person of Aurangzeb. So I am talking about Raja Jai Singh. He was sent by Aurangzeb, and he was sent to take action against Shivaji. And Raja Jai Singh, he won over Shivaji. Now Jai Singh, what he did was he got the Treaty of Purandar signed by Shivaji in 1665. So there was a formally concluded and ratified agreement between states, so which means treaty. That was the Treaty of Purandar, and that was signed by Shivaji in 1665. As per this treaty, Shivaji was to surrender various forts to the Mughals and meet Aurangzeb in person in Agra. So here, according to this agreement, what it stated was that he had to give up all the various forts to the Mughals, and which means surrender. Okay, surrender here means to give something that is yours to someone else. Okay, usually because you have been forced to do so. So he was forced to give up all his forts to the Mughals, and he had to meet Aurangzeb face to face in Agra. Okay, which means in personally. So Aurangzeb humiliated him. Humiliated means to make someone feel ashamed or lose respect before him or herself. So here he was being insulted, okay, humiliated, and arrested him along with his son Shambhaji. So Shivaji, he was humiliated, he was being insulted, and he was arrested along with his son Shambhaji. Shivaji now managed to escape from the captivity by hiding in baskets of sweets. So what Shivaji did was he managed to elope from there, okay, escape from captivity. Captivity means if you make someone your captive, okay, if you take someone in the prison, right, and he, or you can say someone, you will keep him inside your control, right? So now Shivaji, he managed to escape from captivity, and how did he do that? He hid himself in the baskets of sweets. So here, after escaping, after he ran away from there, Shivaji, he started attacking the Mughal forces again and declared himself as the Chhatrapati, the supreme commander. So Shivaji, after running away from the captive of Aurangzeb, he escaped from there and he started attacking the Mughal forces again, and he announced, or he declared himself as the Chhatrapati, the supreme commander, and he made Raigad as his capital and regained many of the forts which had surrendered after the Treaty of Purandar. So here he made Raigad as his capital and he regained, means to take back all the possessions of something that which you have lost it. So that was all the forts that he had given to the Mughals, right? So that all forts he took it back, and that forts he had to give to the Mughals according to the Treaty of Purandar, right? That's why he had given up. Now he had again taken up all the forts, and he then expanded his territory towards Mysore. He now expanded means he extended his territory towards Mysore, and he died in 1680. Now we will talk about Marathas after Shivaji's death. We will talk about the Marathas after Shivaji. So after the death of Shivaji, his two sons Shambhaji and Raja Ram, they took over the power to rule, which means reign, one after another in quick succession. So this word succession means to take over the power of the previous rulers, okay, and to take the throne, right? And since they were not so competent, but they were not so efficient and capable as like Shivaji, so they perished. So perished here, it means they died, especially as a result of an accident, violent or war. Now Sahu, he was the grandson of Shivaji and he was the son of Shambhaji. He fought with the widow of Rajaram. So widow of Rajaram means that was the wife of Rajaram. So after a death of your husband, a woman is known as a widow, right? So Shambhaji, he fought with the widow of Rajaram and he laid his claim on the throne. So he took over the throne, okay, and Shahu, he took over the rule of the kingdom, which means the control over the kingdom, which means reign. Okay, and this was with the help of Balaji Vishwanath, and Balaji Vishwanath, who was a Maratha Sardar. Now Shahu, what he did was he appointed Balaji as Peshwa. Peshwa means prime minister, and all the powers were vested in him. So whatever powers were there, he had been given over. Okay, and that was given to Balaji as he was appointed as the prime minister. Now we will talk about the rule of the Peshwas. We will talk about the rule of the Peshwas. So if we talk about the office of Peshwa, it became hereditary, and the Peshwas, they continued to rule till 1760. So Peshwa's office became hereditary. It means that the word hereditary is titles and position in society which is passed from parents to a child as a right. Okay, so this office, it became a hereditary office, and the Peshwas, they continued till 1760. So Balaji, he restored. So Balaji, he brought back peace and prosperity. Prosperity means the state of being successful and having a lot of money, and that peace and prosperity was brought in the Maratha land, and he was succeeded by Bajirao I. So Bajirao I, he conquered. Now he won and he captured Malwa, Gujarat and Bundelkhand. He also took over Selset and Bassein from the Portuguese. And Bajirao I, he united various Maratha powers with Peshwa as its head. So here all the Maratha powers were united together, and Peshwa was its head. This formed the Maratha Confederacy. So here this word confederacy means a situation in which states are, or the people are joined together for a particular purpose, usually which is related to politics or trade, or a group which is formed like this. So it became a Maratha Confederacy, or a group you can say, for some kind of a purpose, and Bajirao succeeded Bajirao I. Okay, and he exercised his influence. So now he moved forward towards the far north as Punjab, and he practiced his effect over all the north of Punjab. So in the third battle of Panipat, there was a fight between Ahmad Shah Abdali and Marathas in 1761. So here the Marathas, they lost this battle, and the Peshwa rule, it came to an end. So now we will look at the Maratha administration. Let us talk about the Maratha administration. So the administration is the system in which the management, they deal with the public affairs of the daily activity in the country or the region. So here if we talk about Shivaji, he had 8 ministers who had assisted him. Okay, they used to help him in his daily affairs and who used to assist him. Okay, so they were known as Asta Pradhans. So these Asta Pradhans, they used to look after the general administration. So the normal public affairs were being taken care, or they used to manage the systems. Okay, and they used to take care of the finance, they used to take care of the justice. So justice here is the court of law. So now they also used to train the army, look at the safety of the king. They used to deal with the foreign affairs, and also they used to deal with the correspondence. So correspondence here, it means a writing of an official or business letters and receiving and reading them between the two people. So this was another work which was looked in by the Asta Pradhans, and they also used to do social work, which is the charitable work. And now we will see that the kingdom was divided into 4 provinces. So the provinces, it's a division of country or the state, all right, so which are further divided into districts and villages. Now we will talk about the land revenue system. Look at the land revenue system. So land in every village, it was first measured and the produce was assessed. So whatever the crops were grown in that particular land, it was evaluated, which means assessed. Okay, whether it be on their price, whether it be on their quality, okay, whether they had to fix the price, all this was evaluated, and then it was on the basis of this that the farmers, they were required to pay 40% of the crops that had been produced. They had to pay these as the land revenue. Okay, so this land revenue, the revenue term is the amount of money that a government takes on a regular basis. Now there were two types of taxes and that were introduced by the Marathas. So the first type of tax was the chauth. So in this, the tax was collected from those villages which were not directly under the Maratha control, and they were required to pay 1/4 of the revenue, and they paid that to the Mughals. And why did they pay that to the Mughals? Because they wanted to avoid plunder. So plunder means they did not want the goods to be stolen from a place which is typically by using force in the time of war. So that's why they paid those revenue to the Mughals. Now let us look at the second tax, which is Sardesh Mukhi. Now this is 1/10 of the land revenue, and that was collected over and above the chauth as a tribute to the king. So now it was given to the king. Okay, whosoever was the king in that Maratha land, then 1/10 of the land revenue was collected over, and that was more than the chauth, and as a respect to the king they used to give those revenue. At its peak in 1758, the Maratha Empire had spread over nearly the whole of India. So if we talk about the highest level, or you can say the highest point, which means peak, that was in 1758. The Maratha Empire, they had almost spread over nearly the whole of India. From Afghanistan, so these are all the places where this spread. So it was from Afghanistan to Bengal and nearly up to Kerala in the south, but it declined. So here if we talk about the Maratha Empire, it got weakened, okay, or this got fallen down as rapidly as it spread, and within a century they lost out to both the Mughal followed by the British. So now at last what happened was it weakened very fast, in a fast way, okay, and as it spread, okay, the more it got spread, the more it got weakened, okay, and within a time period of century they lost out their land to both the Mughal and which was followed by the British. Now we will do some question and answers from Let's Check. Do some question and answers from Let's Check. Question number 1. Who was the founder of Maratha Empire? The answer will be Shivaji. Question number 2. What kind of warfare was practiced by Marathas under the leadership of Shivaji? The answer will be guerrilla warfare. Question number 3. Who was sent as governor of Deccan by Aurangzeb? The answer will be Shaista Khan. Question number 4. Name some of the areas conquered by Bajirao I. The answer is there in page number 100. Bajirao I conquered Malwa, Gujarat and Bundelkhand. He also took over Salsette and Bassein from the Portuguese. Question number 5. Name two types of taxes introduced by Marathas. So the answer will be Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi. Now we will look at Do You Know? Look at around the world and we will discuss about Napoleon Bonaparte. So if we talk about Napoleon Bonaparte, he was born on the French island of Corsica in 1769 and he was a French military leader and a ruler, okay. and an emperor who conquered large territories of Europe in the early 19th century. So Napoleon, he rose speedily, okay, in terms of his position in the army. He got promoted in a fast way, okay, and that was during the French Revolution in the last days of the 18th century. And after seizing political power in France in 1799, so seizing means he forcefully took away the political power in France in 1799, and he crowned himself. So he made himself the ruler in 1804. He was also known as Napoleon I. The other name of him is Napoleon I. Napoleon, he was highly ambitious. So he was a person who had or who showed a strong desire and determination to succeed, okay, and he was also a skilled military strategist. So this word strategist, it means a person who has a lot of skill and experience in planning, especially in military, political or business matters. So he was a skilled military, a good planner with full of skills. And Napoleon, he successfully raised wars, okay, initiated wars. He raised wars against various European nations, and he expanded his empire. He fought in the war, he won the places, okay, and he expanded his areas of rule. However, when there was a disastrous French invasion of Russia in 1812, if we see here, then there was a disastrous means which causes a lot of damage, okay. So there was a damage which was made by the French invasion. So invasion here, it means an occasion when an army or the country, they use force to enter and take control of another country. So the French, they wanted to take over Russia, right, in 1812, and they came to Russia and they were in the way to cause damage, okay, and Napoleon was forced to quit the throne. So at this time, Napoleon, he was forced to leave his throne and was exiled. Exile means he was moved out of that place and he was moved away from his own country, especially for a political reason. And in 1815, he briefly returned to power after his 100 days campaign. But he came back in 1815. He briefly returned back to his power, and this was there after 100 days of his campaign. But his days of success at the war fronts did not last long. So war front, this word front means a place where the war is held, where the fight takes place in a war, okay. So his days did not last in that war fronts for a long time. After a defeat at the Battle of Waterloo, he was exiled to a remote island. So he was defeated, he was won at the Battle of Waterloo, and he was sent to a remote place. He had to leave his country and he was forced to go, okay, to a remote island where he died at the age of 51 years. So children, now we have ended this chapter. Hope you have understood the chapter in a clear manner. Thank you so much and all the best to each one of you.